if they just worked on themselves and really, reflected and healed and worked on these sort of things that they know women want or that they hear that women want and need in order to be in a relationship, they will influence a woman. But a woman will not be influenced by a man. She'll take over and be the man.
Right.
Because if she meets a guy and she likes him for these other reasons, but he's not really the man that she wants, she will step in and continue to be the man because she's had to do that on her own anyway to survive.
Yeah.
So she'll be like, okay, well, if he's not going to take the responsibility to be the man, someone has to. And I guess that's going to be me because I've been doing it anyway while I was single.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I just remember the example that I had too, which is I had a coaching client this week. We were talking about this. And he told me that he started dating this woman, right? And she liked to go out and party with her friends and go out to nightclubs and bars and stuff, drinking with her friends. And they were dating for, started to get serious. And he told her, he said, I don't like this. I don't like you going out and she said, oh, you're being controlling. And he said, I'm not being controlling. I'm not telling you what you have to do, but you can choose to do that if you want. You can make your choice, but I'm also going to make my choice about the relationship based on your actions.
Right.
And, she was upset. The next day she came back and she was like, I decided that I'm not going to go out and drink with my friends and go to bars and nightclubs. I don't think it's appropriate. And I appreciate you actually setting some boundaries. I don't think I had enough boundaries in my last relationship. Boom. So here you have a typical Western woman, right? That's like, oh, this horrible,
Party
morally
girl.
decrepit Western woman. But then finally a man comes in who's a good man and who sets some boundaries in a loving way. He didn't do it in a harsh way. He didn't say, you have to do this,
Right.
And she chooses to adapt to what he said, because that's what I think a lot of women want, is they want that, like when you create boundaries, it creates safety and security because you feel like, okay, there's some structure to this and I don't have to set the structure.
They do want that, even if they don't want to admit it, because they're still in the middle of it. I was like that. I was not, super extreme, but I was like, look, I'm doing it on my own. I'm fine.
Right.
I don't really need a man. And I even had the mindset of like, I don't want a man to tell me what to do.
Right.
But when you came along, it's not like you told me what to do, but I could trust you with the responsibilities that were more masculine. And when I gave them to you, I knew they would get done. And I know that they would get done right.
Right.
And that you valued doing those things and putting in the effort into those things that I gave the responsibility over to you in a way that I could trust that I didn't have to worry about those things.
Right.
And that is the difference. Like women haven't met a lot of men, though, that they feel that way about.
Right.
And so they continue to steamroll, and they'll continue to steamroll until they find a man like that. And we did a whole episode on this about how you have to out masculine a woman, because the thing today is that men need to realize women are more masculine these days. They've done it with a lot of things, going out and having to provide for themselves. And a lot of things have really pushed them in the more masculine way. However, women want to be more feminine.
Right.
They do. They're admitting it. However, they're still not getting that opportunity because over here, these men are still not becoming more masculine men to out-masculine them. So they do not feel safe when they get into these relationships to be more feminine, even though they want to. So they have to continue to be more masculine.
Right.
And that's where it's all getting really messed up. And I'm not saying that women can't work on things in order to be less masculine or come off less abrasive, because you do need to still present your femininity, even if you are still in your masculine and have to handle stuff on your own. However, if you come across a man that you trust and you feel safe with to give him the responsibilities, you have to do that. And like you said with your story, he was a good man and he had boundaries and he did it in the right way. And that's the thing where men mess up, because a woman is not going to feel safe and she's going to still feel in survival mode if you are controlling her.
Right.
If you're like, do this or else.
Right.
And that's why these women in these other countries are in survival mode.
Right.
And they are like, okay, well, let me just get to safety, which is America, which is away from these people, away from my country.
Right.
So I could be safe.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that, I think men need to realize that they have the power to get the women that they want, but they're choosing to stay over here and complain about it, which I understand. It's frustrating. They have things that are frustrating. Women have things that are frustrating.
Right.
But until both sides realize, okay, I can either sit here and whine about it, or I can do what I can do to be better.
Right.
They're just gonna keep getting further and further away.
Right. And a lot of it is the attitude in which you view this, right? It's like, if you think about this, have you ever been ziplining? I think you did one time.
Yeah, I have been ziplining.
So what's the first thing that you do when you get into the zipline harness when you're about to go ziplining?
Think, what the hell am I doing? I'm terrified of heights.
But then what physical action do you do as soon as you get strapped into that thing?
Pray? I don't know. Like,
you tug on the rope.
They tugged on it for me.
You make sure it's secure.
Right.
So women test boundaries. Mm-hmm. Again, going back to evolutionary biology, women, in order to survive, in the old days, our ancestors, cavemen or whatever, the best chance of survival for them was to find the strongest man they can that has resources to provide or can procure resources.
Right.
Okay. Now, obviously, men figured this out, and then men said, well, I could just pretend to be a strong guy with a lot of resources. So then what do women have to do? Well, they have to test to make sure you're actually that guy.
Right.
So that's why a lot of guys don't understand that it's not just Western women. Every woman will run your ass over. She will try to take charge. She will try to steer the car. She is going to, what they call, shit test you. She's going to see how you respond. What happens if she shows up late? What happens if she, flakes on you? What are you going to do? Right. And so the test is, are you going to do it right? And a lot of guys, weak men, they'll get angry. That's not the right answer. They think that's the right answer.
That's
like,
danger.
Oh, how dare you do that?
That's red flag to a woman.
That's trying to control. That's not safety. Or they'll let the one walk all over them. They won't say anything because they're afraid to lose the opportunity. Right? A strong man, what he's going to do is he's going to assert some boundaries. He's not going to get peeved at it. He's and he's going to show less interest, or he's going to walk away if he doesn't want, because he's not going to allow that to happen to himself, because he has self-respect for himself. And that's when the woman's like, oh, I just tugged on this rope and this rope is secure. Yeah. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's not going to change himself to conform to me. He's not going to suddenly surprise me with his anger.
Buckle under pressure. Like, if you're giving all of that over to a man, like the safety and protection and providing, why wouldn't you want to test it?
Right.
Why wouldn't you want to test that? Is he going to actually crack? And we've also talked about the guys who are like, oh, well, I would protect us when a burglar attacked our house and came in. Yeah. And I know probably half of those men who say that they would take action would not.
No.
And a woman can't, test those things. But like you said, women have learned along the way, probably unfortunately by not testing out a man first, that if she doesn't know that you're actually safe and you're actually going to handle the stuff and you're actually going to protect her, she can't be there long term.
Women actually do test those things. It's not good, but I've seen it happen more than once where a woman will be out with her guy in a bar or something, and she'll get into a fight with a big dude and then she'll want her boyfriend to come. It's a subconscious test.
That's horrible.
It's not a good idea.
No.
Right? Because people could get hurt. But women do that too. I'm sure you've seen instances where they're like, oh, hey, are you not going to defend? Are you not going to, this guy just insulted me. What are you going to do about it?
I have been in that position with an ex-boyfriend, and I was walking down the street and this homeless person was like yelling at me and kept doing it. And he was behind me because we had gotten in an argument. And I had to finally turn to the homeless guy and be like, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
and then kept walking. And then when we got to the car, I was like, I know that we're in a argument right now, but you didn't do anything. And his response was, well, what if he had a gun? And I was like, so because he might have had a gun, you're not going to say anything. Right. But I had the balls to say something. Right. And that's, obviously I was younger then. I didn't realize that I was actually protecting myself. I was in the relationship that we're talking about where I had to run the whole relationship and be the man. But that was definitely when I started losing respect for him because I'm like, you can't even step in. Right. I mean, I understand being afraid that something's going to happen, but if something continues to press, somebody has to do something.
Yeah, you can't.
And it taught me that I was the person that was protecting the relationship and not him.
Better than perfect.